Hi. Howdy ho, everybody. How we doing? Welcome Friday night. I've had a right strop on all day. Oh, is the traffic noisy? I'm in a different room to usual. Is the traffic really irritating for you, or is it all right? Did you hear that loud car going past then? There won't be loads of traffic, obviously. Hi, Jackie. Yay, Laura is in the building. Laura is permanently in the fucking building at the moment. Oh, I've had a right strop today. I've just spent all day just like, I'm bored of this. I'm done. I'm had enough. I want to go back to work. I want to feel not scared for 20 minutes. But never mind. I was glad to have the book club today because yeah, I wouldn't have done anything if this hadn't been like a pressing deadline. And I got to about 2 o'clock this afternoon and I thought like, oh, maybe I just won't. Like, they're all really nice people. They won't mind. And then I thought, no, because there's that nice lady in Australia that said she was getting up at 5 a.m. in Australia to watch this. And I thought, that's what made me pull my finger out and get on. So thank you guys. Like, I know that you say thank you to me a lot for writing it, but honestly, thank you for being so fun to hang out with virtually and for giving me a reason to be creative, because this is getting really hard now. I'm starting to have work from August cancelled, and they're talking about comedy clubs not going back until January, and some days are getting to be a bit like, this is my entire livelihood going up in smoke. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for making me feel like there is something to be creative with and that there are people that like it. You're making my day. So my stroppiness aside, it all started because I got up this morning and my pattern, right? I get up in the morning and I'm rubbish at getting on with things first in the day. I'm not someone that like bounces out of bed and gets on. So I just let myself play Sims for a couple of hours just to wake up, right? And I started playing this morning and my little Sim cat died. But the Grim Reaper came round and didn't take the cat away. So my Sims just had a dead cat in the middle of their conservatory. And then I couldn't get the cat to go away and be dead, but it was just sitting there on the carpet. So every time they walked past, all the Sims got really sad about the cat being dead. And I couldn't go into Bill mode and just throw the cat away because that kept saying, you can't do this while a Sim is dying. And I was like, the Sim is dead. I can't help the cat now. So then we had to have this whole ruckus where I had to Google how to get a dead cat out of a Sim house. Anyway, it was a big thing. It wasn't good. And I also finished my puzzle last night. And honestly, it's like finishing a good book. I don't know what to do with myself. Now, and I finished my book. Anyway, I'm waffling. You don't care. Yes, you will all still be here when touring happens again. I know. We'll get through this. We're going to do this between us. We're going to have a good time. So Kim, yes, that's our Australian. Well done. I can't believe you're getting up at 5. You're doing amazingly. Well done. Oh, it's all right, John. It was just a collection of pixels. It wasn't a real cat. Don't worry. I don't have any pets in real life. Well, I have some tropical fish, but they're not that cuddly. So let's do a chapter, shall we? I quite like this chapter. Like, between you and I wasn't that pleased with yesterday's chapter. So I've put some effort in again today, and I'm excited. So let's go puzzle times. Right, so at the end of the last chapter, Emma offered to set up Fiona, and you guys got voting on what she would set them up to do. So let's do this. Emma paced around her flat, wondering how on earth to start the conversation with Jack. He's just a normal bloke. Just go upstairs and ask how he is, she told herself, but the pacing continued unabated. Yeah, he's normal. It's me that's the problem. I need to go up there and sort of casually tell him my boss fancies him and would he like to go out with her. That's not easy. What if he thinks I'm saying he has to in case I'm fired? Would just tell him that isn't the case. But then he'll know I've been thinking he might think that and he'll think I'm nuts. You have been thinking that and you are nuts. So what's the problem? She stopped talking to herself at that point and decided to run herself a bath. The tap glowered at her, daring her to just try and put another innocent little toe in. She lay back in the bubbles and listened for the sounds of movement upstairs that would tell her when Jack was home and she could pop up. However, the bathwater had gone cold without her hearing the padding of dog paws, and she pulled the plug out and climbed out. giving the tap a patronizing pat before wrapping herself in a towel. Didn't get me this time, she gloated, and then quailed at how unreasonably proud of herself she was for not getting anything stuck in a tap during her bath. Was life really supposed to be like this? Emma dried her hair and made a cup of tea. Maybe Jack not being home is a sign. Maybe he doesn't want to go out with Fiona. He doesn't know you're going to ask him. So? So how can he have gone out to avoid you asking him a question that he doesn't know you're going to ask him? Well, he doesn't know, but the universe does. She saw that she was getting nowhere and stopped arguing with herself at that point. Sometimes it wasn't worth the effort of arguing with the more ridiculous elements of her personality. The tea was finished and there was still no sign of Jack, so she poured herself a glass of wine. No sooner had she settled on the sofa, but she heard the sound of 6 feet padding past her door and on up the stairs. A door slammed, and then the sound of excited dog feet on the floor began what sounded like circles around the room. The footsteps were accompanied by manic barking. Emma wondered what was going on. And then it occurred to her that perhaps the barking might be a good excuse to go up and knock for Jack. She stood up and headed for the door before she had time to talk herself out of it. It wasn't until she was at the top of the stairs that she realized she was still carrying her glass of wine. Emma knocked at Jack's door and tried to listen over the sound of Elliot's barking. The door swung open and Jack's face appeared, bent over, holding Elliot's collar and trying to stop him barking. "I'm so sorry," said Jack. But as soon as the door was open, Elliot's barking ceased immediately and he sat on the floor, tail windscreen wiping across the floor as he happily panted up at Emma. "Oh, no need to apologise. I just wanted to check everything was okay." Jack grinned. "Fine, as far as I know. We only just got back in and he decided to have a funny 5 minutes. I don't know what's going on in his brain this week." "Must be the excitement of me moving in," said Emma cheerily, and then wondered where she got the confidence to joke like that. It was either the wine or Jack's company. Jack glanced at the wine she was holding. "Want to come in and finish that, as my dog seems so desperate for your company?" Emma was pleasantly surprised. She'd spent the last few hours going over and over in her head reasons she could come up here and start a conversation with Jack, without him minding. She'd never thought about the fact he might be happy to see her. She followed Jack into his flat and sat on the sofa while he disappeared into the kitchen to pour himself a glass of wine. Elliot sat delightedly at Emma's feet, tail swishing across the floorboards and chin rested on her knee. She stroked him carefully, not wanting to be too forward. Jack reappeared with his wine and joined Emma on the sofa. "Sorry about this one, turning up yesterday. I didn't know he knew where you worked." Jack joked and Emma laughed. "I didn't realise I was smellable through a plate glass window. You'd be hard pushed to smell stronger than all the pine incense coming out of that place." "True," she laughed again. "I have to wash my hair for ages to get the smell out after a shift." Jack took a sip of wine and she looked at him over the top of her own glass. Fiona was right. He was handsome. She took a sip of her own wine for confidence and managed to breathe in at the same time so that the wine created a dreadful burning sensation in her throat and nose. Her eyes watered as she desperately tried to subdue the spluttering. Jack noticed. He really couldn't fail to notice. "Down the wrong way," he said, and her habitual deep flush spread up from her stinging throat across her face. Elliot raised his head and put a paw up on her lap. She tried. I keep finding myself acting it out along with the story. What a fucking lemon. Just, "Hello, this is my impression of Elliot." Oh, my life. What a donut. Right. Oh, dear. It's definitely Friday, isn't it? My brain is packed up. Where did we get to? Oh, the paw. Okay. Elliot raised his head and put a paw up onto her lap. She tried to get her spluttering under control and speak, but the wet feeling in her lungs was not shifting. Jack laughed kindly. "I'll get you some water," he said, and headed for the kitchen. Emma cursed herself. Oh, Chris said he likes the acting. Yeah, all right. Well, maybe by the end of this, we'll just do a full play, shall I? I'll start doing a screen. Well, maybe if we're still in lockdown in a couple of months and this book's finished, we'll just do a screenplay. I'll get some finger puppets. Stop it, Laura. Just read the book. You see who Emma's based on now, don't you? You guys are like, "She's nuts. Nobody's this crazy." "I'll get you some water," he said, and headed for the kitchen. Emma cursed herself. She sipped the water gratefully on Jack's return, and he refilled both their glasses from the bottle he had brought back with him. "That's better," she said, her throat still burning. "Sorry, wouldn't it be nice if we could have a conversation without anything ridiculous happening?" "That would be nice," said Jack. "I don't do much socializing." Emma saw her opportunity. "Well," she raced another sip of wine into her, and it mercifully found the right pipe. "I was wondering, actually, you see, well, when you popped into the shop with this one," she scratched Elliot cosily under the chin, "it just seemed really nice to see you. Fiona thought so too, and we wondered," God, this was excruciating. She felt about 9 years old. "I wondered if you might fancy a day out." He didn't respond. "With Fiona," she added. Jack swirled his wine around in the glass. "What a lovely offer," he said finally, taking a sip of wine. Emma noted with jealousy how all of his wine went straight into his stomach with next to no fuss. "What did you have in mind?" Emma was delighted. "Bristol Zoo is meant to be great. Fiona has never been, and it's easy to get there on the train." "Oh, I could drive us," Jack said amiably. "When did you have in mind?" Emma couldn't believe how well this was going. The shop is shut on Sunday." "Great," said Jack and drained his wine. "I'll knock for you at 10 and then we'll go and get Fiona." Emma sat dumbstruck. "No," she screamed internally. "I'm not supposed to be coming. Just you and Fiona." But she had no idea how to get those words out of her mouth without seeming like she hated Jack or was completely duplicitous. She just nodded silently on the sofa. "Great," she managed, her throat feeling worse than it had when she'd regurgitated white wine into it minutes before. "Well, I should head back down now. Saturday tomorrow, obviously. You knew that. I just mean it's busy in the shop on Saturdays. That's all." Why couldn't she just talk like a normal person? Thank goodness Jax didn't seem to have a problem with her unique approach to conversations. He was just smiling pleasantly at her. She set her glass down on the coffee table and said her goodbyes, and it wasn't until she was downstairs with the door closed on her own flat that she remembered it was her own wine glass she'd left up there. She headed straight for bed, but as she passed the bathroom, she couldn't help glancing in and looking at the tap, wondering if it might have been doing her a favour holding her hostage when she couldn't mess things up. Holding her hostage so she couldn't mess things up. Okay, well, as there's a little chapter break, I'll see what you guys have been chatting about. Yeah, all right, you're up for some costuming. Okay, I know you guys just like me looking like an idiot. Jackie M, no, I don't know what that's relating to, but hopefully, I don't know. Bristol Zoo, yeah, Bristol Zoo. Okay, and then, yes, well, she has messed it up. She has messed it bloody up, hasn't she? Right. "You've been really quiet all morning," snapped Fiona, returning from her lunch break with coffee breath and an air of productivity about her. For the first time that day, there were no customers in the shop, and Emma had no way to avoid the looming conversation with Fiona. She put down the candelabra she was polishing and moved across to lean on the counter. "Yeah, sorry. So, I wasn't sure how to tell you. I popped up to see Jack yesterday and asked him about maybe a zoo trip." Fiona's eyes lit up. "What did he say?" she asked. "Well, he said yes," said Emma, swallowing. "But I sort of messed up the invite, and he got the wrong end of the stick." Fiona's eyes widened in alarm. "You told him I'd sleep with him?" Emma recoiled in horror. No, why would I do that? You said you'd given him the wrong end of the stick." I did, but not that stick. There's more than one stick, Fiona. Of course I didn't say you'd... No, I sort of wasn't completely clear about it being a date, and he assumed I'd be coming too. So he said, absolutely, yes, he's up for going tomorrow, but also, I suppose I'm coming. Emma studied Fiona's face. Unless, I could pretend to be sick or something, Emma added, trying to be helpful. Fiona thought for a second. No, don't be silly. I think it's lovely that you'll all be there. I don't even know the guy. I just thought he was a bit handsome. So maybe it'll be nice to get to know him more relaxed and that. Besides, she trailed off and avoided eye contact with Emma, and Emma sniffened. Sniffened? That's not a word. Stiffened is the word we were looking for there. And Emma stiffened. Besides what? Oh, nothing. Fiona busied herself with order forms from the drawer. It's not nothing. Besides what? Fiona looked up guiltily. I spoke to Norman last night. Fiona, I know. You were supposed to be going cold turkey, remember? I know I was, but then he messaged me last night to say he missed me, and could he please just see me once to say goodbye? Right. Emma let her suspicions show in the extra syllable she added to the word. So, Emma could see that Fiona was going to need further prompting to get the truth out of her. So what? She was sorely tempted to add a young lady to it, but then that felt, oh no, that's a typo, isn't it? But that felt like going, oh, what does that sentence mean? But that felt like it would be. I think that's what I've missed out there. Sorry about this, guys. You can see this isn't a pre-prepared story. So what? She was sorely tempted to add a young lady to it, but that felt like it would be going too far, given that Fiona was a decade older than her and, more importantly, her manager. I'm really enjoying this. I can just see you guys. No, not Norman. Yeah, there's lots of twists and turns in this chapter. Ha! So I called him. Emma let out a sigh of relief. Just a call. Phew! But Fiona hadn't finished. And he managed to persuade me to come out and meet him. He was parked around the corner in his car, the lovely blue one I told you about. And I got in, and he drove me up to this gorgeous spot. And Fiona, what are you, 16? I didn't have sex with him, Fiona objected. Good, he's married. But I mentioned going to the zoo with Jack. I wanted to make him jealous, see? Only it worked. It worked too well, and he said he wanted to go. I said he couldn't bear the idea of me going on a date with another man, and I don't know how it happened, but I sort of said he could come. Emma stared at her in shock. How on earth was she going to explain to Jack that not only was Fiona sizing him up for potential date material, but also here was her part-time married boyfriend along for the ride too? At least this mess was not entirely of her own doing. Fiona was going to have to play her part in straightening it all out. The bell over the door jingled, and 4 American tourists came bustling in, chattering about how quaint the shop was and how beautiful the window displays were. Fiona painted a huge smile on her face and went over to wow them with her regional accent and oldie-worldy charm. The pair of them didn't have a chance to speak again until the shop closed with a full till at 6 p.m, and Emma rounded on Fiona. Right then, missy, she cried out. She might have denied herself a young lady earlier, but she was mad and had every right to say missy now. I suppose I will see you at 10:15 tomorrow morning at your flat, unless you've decided to catch a lift with Norman. Fiona had the decency to look shamefacedly at her shoes. No, she mumbled. I'll see you at my place. Emma stalked home, feeling hot under the collar, but also oddly excited for what the next day would bring. She couldn't remember the last time she'd had social plans or drama or anything, really. So there we go, the end of Twisty Turny chapter. What's going to happen? Nobody knows. Pew, pew, pew. So, yes, Jack is up for going to the zoo. They're going to the zoo the next day. We're going to the zoo, zoo. How about you? But Emma's going unexpected, and so is Norman. What? Didn't see this coming. So there's your chapter. You've got 2 questions for the weekend, as you've got extra thinking time. Good. Kim, I'm glad you liked the chapter, and thanks very much for getting up early. That was very, very kind of you. The more I see the name Norman, I mean, I can't judge a bloke and all, but fair point, who would happen if there was someone called Norman? Do you know what I think? I think it's because she's got the Welsh accent, and Norman is in Fireman Sam. I think that's why it's coming to my head like, Norman. I think that's why he's ended up called Norman. Right, so your question that you have to answer, you've got 2. First question, what do they feed at the zoo? Is it 1, elephants, 2, the seals, 3, penguins, or 4, giraffes? Which animal are they feeding at the zoo? Elephants, seals, penguins, or giraffes? Your second question Who buys the ice creams? Is it 1, Jack, 2, Emma, 3, Fiona, or 4, Norman? So you are choosing which animal they feed at the zoo, elephants, seals, penguins, or giraffes, and who buys the ice creams for the humans, I should add. They're not feeding ice cream to the animals. That would be terrible for their digestive systems. Who buys the ice creams for the humans? Is it Jack, Emma, Fiona, or Norman? So I will post those. As it's a Friday, I don't want to ask you too often because I know that finances are tight for all, but if you feel like donating to the coffee, some of you already have, and that's absolutely dandy. But if you feel like dropping me a few pounds or dollars to say thanks for another week, you're very welcome to. I'll post the link too. But if you don't want to or can't, that's absolutely fine. But yeah, you've got until Monday lunchtime to do some voting, and then I will be back Monday night. It will be 10 p.m. on Monday, so that's 7 a.m. Australia time, and I don't know what times everywhere else because I don't know where you are, but 10 p.m. I'll set the stream up right now so that you can see what time it is for you. So there you go. Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Lisa. Shreya says, Claire, when your life is such that the car sandwich is forgettable. I don't know what that means at all. I've clearly missed something you were always chatting about. Shane, hello, don't recognise your name. Nice to see you chatting too. Really liked this episode. Oh, good. That's great. Well, have a really lovely weekend. I'll be on Twitter and messing about and stuff if anybody's lonely and needs company. Yeah, I'll get thinking about what can happen on the zoo trip. I'm assuming Elliot can't come, which is the only sad thing about the zoo. So, right, get voting. Have a lovely weekend. Keep safe and lots of love to you and your loved ones. Bye.